The debate between vegetarianism and non-vegetarianism is back, and I'm saying back because amongst other things, the food choice is one thing which almost fashions one's identity in this country. First, a fact: India is largely non-vegetarian. Look at the map on your screens right now, and you can see the screen, and you can see that majority of India is indeed non-vegetarian, with very little areas which are showing green, and that being the south of green, which is vegetarian. I beg your pardon. Look at the map, and also look. Let's also explore some other myths. And I say that because as South Indian and Tamil, I get to hear this a lot. You guys eat dosas every day, no? No, we don't. However, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Odisha and Jharkhand are states where the proportion of non-vegetarians is more than 97%. So please, ladies and gents, we need to explore some myths. In contrast, Punjab, Haryana, Gujarat and Rajasthan have the least non-vegetarian population, which is actually below 40%. Now let's focus on the main issue, and that concerning Sudha Murty, who's author and philanthropist and also an engineer turned teacher who set up Infosys along with her husband Narayana Murthy. On a YouTube show which was about food, Sudha Murty spoke about her favorite foods and her inability to cook a variety of dishes. And when she was asked what does she do when she travels abroad, she said, and I'm reading this because this is verbatim, she said, "I'm adventurous in my work, not in my food. I'm in fact scared. I'm a pure vegetarian. I don't even eat eggs or garlic. What I'm scared of is that the same spoon will be used for both vegetarian and non-vegetarian food. It weighs on my mind a lot. Hence, when we go out, I only search for veg restaurants, or I carry one bag which is full of eatables. I carry ready to eat stuff that you have to just heat it in water. I carry poha." That's what Sudha Murty said. Now, focus on this line from her statement, which was actually plucked out. And this is what I'm scared of is that the same spoon will be used for both vegetarian and non-vegetarian food. That is the line which was actually plucked out of her entire statement, and the Twitter exploded with several opinions. And some of them, are obvious, of course, but I would like you to go through, look at the screen, and you will find some of those tweets, where different people are saying different things. Tehseen Poonawalla has said that, speaks about Muslim family, and actually he's been very kind to Sudha Murty and said, after all, it's her food choice. Then you have someone else. She says, what she's doing, what is practiced by Jains, which is absolutely right, because on the airline we do have, Jain food. And someone else is saying it is attacking our culture. And someone said that, also made a comment about her son-in-law, Rishi Sunak, and several questions were raised, and in the process of the Twitter exploding. And Rishi Sunak, they put up pictures where Rishi is actually serving an entire, a table which has obviously barbecue and non-vegetarian dishes. So we are asking a couple of questions, and which I will ask on this debate: is Sudha Murty casteist? I mean, that is one thing which has been leveled against Sudha Murty, and I don't want to say anything because I will say it during the debate. But first, let's go to the guest just now. Because I think that the only thing I feel which may be out of bounds is that as a public figure, maybe Sudha Murty could have avoided the scared bit. What is scary about something which is perhaps inadvertent, I think. That spoon, and maybe very innocent unless you are a renunciate, that beats me. If you are a sannyasi, fine, but then we are all ordinary people. If someone, inadvertently you actually eat from a spoon which was, I do not know, you don't even know, you don't go to the kitchen. If you are so particular, you should be carrying the spoon, but then she hasn't, and some of the people on Twitter got it wrong. Please, she does not carry cutlery. She only carries ready to eat food, and she carries, of course, some other things, and also a pressure cooker. Also, unlike many vegetarians who may not have the luxury to be afraid, She and I am including myself, we are all privileged, and therefore it doesn't wash. That word, scared, I think it is rather exaggerated, the entire thing. The thing is that the Twitter exploded. You're from the south, I'm from the south, and I think it's a lot to do with culture also. Although pan Indian thing is, first thing you are asked is, are you vegetarian or non vegetarian? Then I have these responses, what, you don't eat meat? I mean, so it's like, I'm never going to live, I'm going to die the next moment, or whatever. It's a choice. But you know my whole point is that if you're a public figure, and the way she said, I'm very scared, what if the same spoon is used for vegetarian and non vegetarian? Dilip, do you think for someone who's a public figure, who's an author, who's admired, uh, was this necessary at all? I mean, to say something, because in a way, you're isolating a lot of people. You're raising eyebrows also.
I think Sudha Murty's comments were probably made, as many of her comments are, with a genuine sense of affection, simplicity, and enhanced identity of who she is. Uh, the the explosion on Twitter, I don't find surprising, because Twitter likes to uh, quibble and quarrel largely. That's first. The second is that I think that, as you rightly said, the issue of privilege. And the third issue that I want to have focused on in some senses is that this is not about purity. And I think that the less we make this an issue of purity, the the chances of having it seen as a kind of casteist divide will get reduced. But the big question that we need to understand is, was Sudha Murty trying to either demean or insult somebody? I don't think she meant it that way. So the first thing is that I think we should tend to forgive her a little bit. Getting our knickers into a twist about a thing like this just shows us as being thin skinned.
Sylvia, I want to come to you. What Dilip was speaking about, that we need to be a bit kind of kind to Sudha Murty. But do you think that somewhere, because I'm only being the devil's advocate, was Sudha Murty being casted somewhere, Sylvia? Do you think that, like I said, I'm giving her, Dilip does not think so, but I'm giving her the benefit of doubt also. But then a lot of people are saying, look, you're a product of your culture, right? Like I'm a Tamil, so I'm a product of where I grew up. I mean, in my case, for sure. Somewhere that's why I understand the way maybe Mrs. Murthy is wired also. But do you think that somewhere when she spoke about, let's play that, what she said, Shampa, if we can play that, where she says, I'm scared, and I always go out, I carry food, I carry a pressure cooker. Does she come across as casteist at all?
Yes, yes. So what Siddhamurti is showing, and also even the other speaker, Mr. Dilip, is showing, is what we can call a kind of a innocent casteism. Basically, it's showing displaying all the markers of caste privilege, of identifying yourself by certain markers as being of a certain caste that you think is superior, but using all these words like simple and I'm giving someone the benefit of doubt. But if you look at it in a larger context, is these very markers that are used to create the whole hierarchy within society, to create a sense of superiority and inferiority, using words like scared, polluted, contaminated, dirty, unhygienic, the sattvic as a higher form of food, tamasic and rajasic as lower forms of food. I mean, these are not things that which do not have real life consequences. Would a person, say a Dalit woman, would she be able to go onto camera and say, I like beef, so I carry beef with me? She wouldn't be able to say it. So, trying to reduce what Sudha Murty is saying to something very innocent, I think that's a problem, because she represents a larger culture that is very casteist, and the casteism has real life implications. It leads to denial of eggs to children in the schools. It leads to cattle slaughter bans across the country. It leads to people who are meat eaters being denied that and criminalized, looked down upon. You have teachers who are telling students that meat is bad for you. So if you look at it from a scientific point of view, curd and milk and ghee and butter are all animal source foods. In terms of composition, they are as contaminated or as polluted as want to label the meats as in terms of composition. So we also need to be scientific about food, and we should stop privileging casteist behaviors, especially if it has real life implications. The on Twitter, they say, what if a Muslim has his preferences and doesn't want, insists on halal food? That's completely fine. If a Brahmin or Jain person says that I want to, I have certain privileges, that's completely fine. But you cannot take it away in isolation from the larger situation, how policies are decided, how children are being treated, how people are being
Right.
criminalized, how people are being denied certain foods. So you can't just, take it away from that and say, oh, she's very innocent.
I kind of agree with what you're saying, and I'll tell you why, because I'm from the same cultural ambience or umbrella. I know exactly. So when I read this, I could actually hear my grandmother and my aunts and my everyone. I mean, if they have to actually decide who's a good girl, and I was not one, so following will be asked, do you eat non-vegetarian food? Oh, you eat egg? No. Have you tasted it? Yeah. Will you taste it again? I don't know. So smoking, drinking, everything, which is of course very bad for health, but food, particularly food, it comes from this kind of being sanctimonious. My problem is that you are privileged and I am privileged, and I can, maybe order something else and eat because I don't eat meat. But the point is that what about thousands? Like I was talking to reporters, they said, what do you think, yaar? I mean, we go on the streets and we are shooting, we get anything we eat. What is this? I mean, I could be a vegetarian in my personal space, but I have to do it. So it's about privilege. Namaskar, Tehseen ji. You wrote on Twitter and you seem to be, kind of, if I'm not wrong, supporting Sudha Murty ji.
I don't support her.
Yeah.
I'm sympathetic towards her.
You're What's your stand, Tehseen ji?
So let me just put this out there. I think Sudha Murty, I'm not a fan of Sudha Murty. I think she grossly exaggerates I think she grossly exaggerated her encounter on the so-called business class line. That doesn't happen. I think she terribly exaggerated her experience at the UK airport, where people were surprised that she's the Prime Minister's mother-in-law. That doesn't happen. For protocols, for other things, and for UK, you don't require to fill a form. So I'm not a fan of her. But I'm a complete non-vegetarian. I eat every single meat. I'm extremely experimental in my eating. So I don't come from a space of either moral policing or being vegetarian or vegan. I'm not all of that. In fact, I think that the reason India has such severe malnutrition, India is not a hungry country. India is a malnourished country. And the reason our fellow citizens are malnourished is because the government keeps feeding them rice and wheat, which is carbohydrates. We need to increase our protein intake. We desperately need to increase our protein intake for our kids. So all of that I completely agree with. But what is it that this woman says in this particular show with that anchor? So I saw the clip of the show and I posted.
Yeah.
She's not imposing her food choices on anyone else. She's saying, look, I am pure vegetarian. I don't eat even whatever lasan and adrak, garlic and all of that. So I carry my own set of food. I carry my own cooker and I cook my own food. And I'm scared psychologically that my utensils will get mixed. Now, you can wonder if you're worried or not worried. But look, I have a lot of friends who are Muslims. They won't eat from the same fork if I'm eating pork, right? They won't share the same fork with me. I know a lot of Jews who eat
kosher,
only kosher
yes.
food, and at one point, one of my best friends, she was Jew for a really, and while she was in India, an Israeli, and she would not eat from the same plate as us. So she's saying, she's just putting that out. She's not imposing her views on other people. She's not saying, look, you have to be vegetarian. that's the right way to go. If she would have said that, I would have contradicted her. In fact, I'm again saying India's problem, nutritional problem, is too much grains, too less protein. We need to increase protein. But she's saying this is the way I am, and I take my food, I take my cocoa, I take my own.
Yeah, but
food.
she's
I think
Sudha
just let her be.
Murty ji. Tomorrow, if you say something like
I'm
this,
not Tehseen ji.
no, yeah.
I'm Tehseen.
Tehseen, if you say, so please call me Sudha also, don't call me Sudha ji, I just don't like it. So, Sudha ji is, all of you, so thank you. So, the thing is that Tehseen, if you said you're a public figure, Dilip is a public figure, Dr. Karpagam, all of you, if you say, you have to see who you are also, right? Like tomorrow, I'm not a public figure, but tomorrow if I'm called for a panel discussion, I'm not going to sit there and say, I will be very scared, is this spoon, because that way I'm cancelling the people who are serving me food. The serving of food or the eating of food also culturally means something else for us and means something else for someone. My whole point is scared, that word scared is overdrive, it's OTT. It's really kind of over the top. नहीं तहसीन, scared की क्या बात है इसमें, क्या डर की बात है? Let me also tell you that if you,
May I answer that?
Ji, go on.
If you just allow me to answer that, hypothetically, assume that Dilip, you, I, and a friend of ours, Imran, went for lunch, and it's a buffet, and the hotel is serving us a buffet, serving us a la carte, or serving us whatever meats are available.
Okay.
And he just says, look, just don't serve me pork. Or for example, he orders a club sandwich, a non-veg club sandwich, and then the steward will ask him, is it with or without pork or bacon? So one second, he says, no, just make sure you don't serve me pork, you can serve the rest of them. So I think that's fine. She's not saying you should not eat non-veg. Look, I think she's grossly over exaggerated as a celebrity. Or
I'm sorry, I'm cutting you, I'm interjecting, but Tehseen, if that sandwich comes to me, I won't say, oh God, listen, I'll say, listen, I don't eat this, right? So may I have a vegetarian sandwich, please? I'm not going to say, I was paranoid, I didn't know. There is nothing to be paranoid. It's like, OTT, because I know.